Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby if you don't already know me, and I love to talk all things personal finance, organization, and lifestyle. And today's video is going to be a hair loss update video. If you are new to my channel, or if somehow you have not heard me talk about my hair loss, I have been struggling with hair loss for the last 3-ish years or so, and I wanted to do a little bit of an update video. I know a lot of you guys have been asking for an update video. Did sort of want to wait until my hair loss calmed down before I talked about it. Otherwise, I knew it would be a very emotional video where I wasn't very helpful because I didn't know what was going on. I have seen a little bit of progress. I will talk a little bit more about the current scenario with my hair at the end of this video, but I do just want to give a little bit of context in case you are new to my channel or you just stumble across this video. So my name is Gabby. I'm 30 years old, and I started noticing some hair loss around 3-ish years ago, 3.5 years ago. It was actually the fall of 2023 when I really for sure knew something was going on. But before then, I had just noticed a lot more shedding in the shower. I sort of blamed it on the curly girl method. So let's just kind of go back in time a little bit. I will give you the full background. For in context, I am vegetarian, vegan. I am mainly vegan, but I do here and there cheat on my veganism. So I call myself a little bit in the middle of the two, but I'm predominantly plant-based, and I have been for it's got to be like 7-ish years now. I can't remember exactly when I went vegan, and then I was vegetarian for 2 or 3 years before that. So total probably a decade that I've been not eating meat. And I was not always amazing with my diet. I definitely used to eat very random things that I avoided meat. I wasn't trying to complement my diet with other protein sources or anything like that. I also went through a phase where I was eating very little and I wasn't nourishing my body. I was eating very low nutrient dense foods. I eventually became iron deficient. About 3.5-ish, 3 years ago, around there, I started noticing more shedding in the shower. This was the era of the curly girl method, and I noticed that when I would brush my hair in the shower, because that was something that they told you to do with the curly girl method, I was seeing more hair fall in the shower. But I thought it was just because I was brushing it. And with the curly girl method, you're not actually brushing your hair outside of the shower, so it made sense to me that my hair would fall out more in the shower, if that makes sense. So I wasn't really thinking anything of it. I was dealing with some other health issues at this time. I was really anxious. I was just not feeling great. And I went to my doctor, we did some labs, and that is when I figured out that I had low iron. I was at like 26 ferritin levels, which is quite low. It's still in a healthy range, and this is what's so annoying, is that in our current healthcare system, they use averages of what people come with to declare whether you're in a healthy range, not an optimal range. And so I was considered not anemic, but low iron. And so because it wasn't like anemia, I didn't really take it that seriously. My doctor told me to get an iron supplement. I took it. I've never been good with supplements. I am atrocious at remembering to take anything daily. I am so bad with supplements. That was an issue. And then I think when I went through one bottle, I just didn't repurchase it. And then probably a year later is when I noticed that I actually was losing my hair. And it happened when I was talking to my boyfriend, and I was like, I don't know, my hair feels like really thin these days and it just feels different. And he was like, yeah, I have noticed your hairline looks a little bit thin. And I was mortified. I talked about this in my very first video. It was mortifying. I was like, I can't believe if a guy is noticing it, you know it's bad. Because I've gotten full ass extensions before, and my dad was like, what did you do at the salon? And I was like, my hair is 6 inches longer, Dad. So you know when a man is noticing something, I'm like, oh my God, this is bad. So I really started to panic. I started Googling what I should be doing. I had no idea where to start. And also genetically in my family, hair loss is common. When I really started thinking about it, most of the men on both sides of my family are bald. And then my mother also has quite thin hair now that she's aging. It's pretty common to have thinning hair in aging, but hers is actually enough that she's also looking at methods of, curbing hair loss. And then also some other women on my dad's side as well also have thinner hair. So when I think about it, I'm genetically, I'm predisposed for sure to thinner hair. It's probably not an if, but when. No, what is the saying? My brain is turned off right now. When, not an if, but when. That's the saying. So yeah, I assumed I would be older than, 27 when it started. I assumed that would be the case. This was October of 2023. I also went and visited my mom around that time, and she repeated the exact same thing to me without me even prompting her. I had my head down and she was like, oh, your hairline is so, like, it's thinning. And I was like, oh, here we go. So I was like, okay, I'm ready to do something drastic. And I was just doing research. I came across Dr. Dre. She always talks about the iRestore helmet. This is this bad girl here. And I bit the bullet that day and bought a $1,300 helmet. $1,300. And because this is so expensive, I really put all of my faith in this. I think the only other thing I implemented at this time was rosemary hair oiling, which I did maybe once a week, maybe if I remembered. But I really thought that this was going to be a holy grail. It's so expensive. I was like, it's going to do everything for me. This is what I'm missing. And don't get me wrong, I did start to see some outcomes after around 8 months. I did have a shedding phase with this as well, so it got worse before it got better. So about 3 months in, my hair was shedding quite a bit. And then around 8 months, I did see some improvements, and they were there, but they were minor. It was minor. It was not enough where I was like, holy wow, this is working. I kind of had to look at photos to be like, I think it's better. And I will try to find some photos I included in my first video around like what my hair loss has been looking like. Okay, so once I started seeing better outcomes, I stopped being as diligent with this. It's 25 minutes every second day. And as you can imagine, if I can't even remember to take a supplement, doing a 25-minute session with this thing every second day is probably not going to be easy for me, which it was not. It was not easy for me. So I struggled using this, especially in the summertime. I just kind of honestly dropped off, especially when I had trips. I'm not bringing this. I'm bringing a carry-on. I'm not bringing this. You know what I mean? So I eventually started seeing more hair shedding, and this seems to be a trend for me. So I am going to be mindful of this coming up here. Like, this might just be my hair cycle, but I always have improvements from around January until about May. And then I have a sort of like stay the same period from like May until about June. And then from around June until literally December, I usually go through a giant shedding phase that is traumatic. So I am going to be curious if this happens this upcoming year, but around June of 2024, I started to have a shedding phase and this would have been June of 2023. So then that must have been October of 2022. I'm getting my years all messed up. But anyway, so like June 2023 and fall of 2023, I had a giant shedding phase, and it started slow and it slowly ramped up, and then I really started freaking out because my hairline looked so bare. I was losing so much hair in the shower. I went back to my doctor and I was like, okay, I need help. I need to do something. And she was just like an NP. So she just was like, you know what, we'll get you into a dermatologist. It's going to be a little bit of a wait. We'll put you on Minoxidil and Spironolactone in the meantime. So Spironolactone is commonly used for PCOS. We had some suspicions I might have PCOS and like higher androgens anyway, and androgens are what attack the hair follicle. So she thought it like a very good treatment plan would be the spironolactone and the minoxidil. I started minoxidil 2 days later, I think, and I also started the spironolactone almost immediately, and I immediately had just such a severe reaction to the spironolactone. Also, other context is I don't love being on medications. I've never really been on consistent medication other than I did 2 rounds of Accutane, which you could argue is like the worst medication ever, but I was so desperate in those times to clear my acne that I thought of it as like a saving grace, even though it probably wreaked havoc on my body. But I've never really taken medication regularly. Spironolactone is blood pressure medication, and because I'm vegan, or I don't know, it could just be genetic as well, but I have low blood pressure already, so my doctor did warn me I was gonna feel lightheaded often. I was gonna feel very weird just because I already had low blood pressure, and then I was adding on top of that the blood pressure medication. So I took it for like 4 days, and I couldn't believe how immediate the feelings of like weirdness I had with that medication were. Like immediately I felt so weird. I felt so lightheaded, so like groggy, and like, I felt like I was in like a fever dream. Like, you know, when you wake up and you're like half awake, like it felt like that. I was so thirsty. Like mouth, it was like the driest mouth I've ever had. I was so thirsty. I went for like a 10-minute walk and I didn't bring a water bottle, and I literally thought I was gonna die. Yeah, I just, knowing that I was like only 2 days in and I would have to continue it, I was just like, I don't think I can do this. We haven't even tried that many other methods for the hair loss. Like, why don't I stop this, try the minoxidil, try maybe a couple of other things, and then maybe come back to this if I absolutely need to. I just didn't love the way I felt on it. I just didn't like it. So have heard since that apparently spironolactone is like that at the beginning and you will adjust to it. So who knows, it might be fine if I go back on it. I don't know. But yeah, I just didn't love it at the time. Talking about being thirsty made me thirsty. So yeah, I started Minoxidil. I didn't know initially that it was toxic to cats, so luckily nothing happened. I get so frustrated that they don't put anything on the label for this. Like, it doesn't say anywhere on the label it's toxic to pets. I think even dogs, it's also toxic. That is just so frustrating, but that's why I have a little cloth underneath this, is because I try to isolate it from my cats. And I do use Minoxidil even to this day. I will talk more about like the outcomes of Minoxidil as I go, but I am very, very careful with my cats. Basically how I use this and I isolate it from my cats is I use it at night only. Every time I take this out of my cabinet, I always make sure that the cap is locked on. That's very critical. I always keep it in a cabinet that is like door closed away. I never keep it on the counter or anything like that. I always put a cloth below it before I use it so that it's not contacting any surface other than just like the cloth it's on. I will pump the mousse into the cap of the Minoxidil. I will apply it with my finger. Just like one finger is all I use to go through and apply it. And then I will rub it in with like my hands afterwards. And then I take the cap, the bottle, and this whole cloth. I basically just grab this whole cloth and my hands that are dirty. I bring it to the shower. I use Dyson soap. I use, what's the blue soap that they use on ducks in the commercials to clean them? The dish soap. Dawn. I use Dawn soap on my hands. I get it all over the cap. I wash the bottle. I use the cloth to make sure that nothing is dripping anywhere. And then I make sure my hands are fully clean. I put this back into place after it's dry and clean, and then I dry my hands. And then I am very cautious about wearing a sleeping cap over my hair at night. I usually put my hair in like a heatless hairstyle, and then I put a silk cap that has like a knot around it, and I wear that to bed every night. I don't miss a night with the silk cap. Like, I'm not like, oh, sometimes I remember it. Like, I wear the silk cap to bed every single night. Neither of my cats sleeps on me. They sleep on David. I don't know why, but both of my cats are obsessed with David. I'm also very mindful if I touch my hair, I will wash my hands before I like spread it around. So that's how I isolate the Minoxidil at home. Apparently you can get oral Minoxidil that is just as effective for hair loss. I don't know if I love the idea of that. Like, that is systemic. When you're applying it just topically, it's only, I think they say like less than 5% of it is being absorbed systemically, and orally is obviously not the same as that. And it's also a blood pressure medication, so I'm probably going to have similar outcomes as I did with Spironolactone. So that is the situation with Minoxidil. I just wanted to touch on that. I know a lot of people are worried about my cats, but I'm very careful with them. Trust me. I never want to jeopardize them over my hair. I have started Minoxidil, and if I were to stop, I would lose a good chunk of the hair I have on my head, and I'm not sure if I'm mentally prepared for that at this stage. Maybe the oral Minoxidil could be an option, but continuing on, where was I in my story? So yes, that fall when I started Minoxidil, I went through a very intense shed after I started Minoxidil. This is common. It's called the Minoxidil shed. And basically what happens is all of the hairs on your head start to line up on the same cycle. And the hairs that were in the like resting phase or shedding phase will all start to shed at the exact same time. They were hairs you were going to lose anyway, but you were probably going to lose them over the next few months and not all in the same, couple of weeks. So it is very tragic and traumatic. And I was getting clumps in the shower and I was having breakdowns in the shower. I am not as emotional when I talk about this now because I've been dealing with it for so long, but it was horrendously difficult on my mental health when I was going through it. Hair loss as a woman is scary. It's just, especially with the unknowns, like you just don't know how far it's gonna go. I think that was the scariest thing for me is I was like, I might have stress-related hair loss or I might have alopecia. You just don't know exactly where it's going to end. You don't know how severe of a case you're gonna have, and you just have to ride it out and hope for the best and just do as much as humanly possible. And like that was the just like struggle every day, like especially when it starts to ramp up again. I go right back there every time because I'm like, what's going on? How far is this gonna go? How much hair am I gonna lose in this shed? Like that's the mentally difficult part. Okay, but then Minoxidil, I guess I should also touch on like what I was doing at the same time during this era. So I was always doing the rosemary oil very infrequently. I did the Minoxidil as my doctor told me. I kept up with the iRestore. I started getting more consistent with that, and then I also started adding other things. I I ended up going to a naturopath probably a month after I saw my doctor, and it was around the same time I was gonna see a dermatologist. So the naturopath ran all my blood, did all those things. She came to the conclusion that she thought I had ferritin related hair loss, and it was likely stress induced hair loss that was relating to my ferritin being low. So when I went back for blood work, I think I was in the 30s or 40s with ferritin, which is still not ideal. You actually want ferritin to be around 100, 75 and up, but like around 100 ideally for healthy hair growth. That was like good to hear. I was very hopeful that the whole ferritin thing would completely resolve the issue. The only issue I had was that to get ferritin levels back up to 100 would take me quite a while. Like I knew that I think you can raise your ferritin by around 10 points every month with like very intense supplementation. So I knew I was in for like a full year before my levels would be around the 100 level. And then I went to that dermatologist appointment and she thought the exact same thing. I didn't mention anything about my naturopath appointment. She saw my blood work. She was like, it's ferritin related. I can't in good conscience give you PRP until the ferritin is higher, but she was basically like, the only option for you is PRP. She wasn't interested in diagnosing me. She wasn't interested in anything else. She was like, the ferritin's low, bring it up, come back, see me. So that was a little bit of a disappointing appointment, but she did sort of reiterate what my naturopath thought. So I was like, okay, let's do the supplementation. My naturopath gave me a bunch of other supplements as well. So I was taking a zinc supplement and it was like a blend supposed to help balance hormones. I was taking a hair and scalp supplement. I always get nervous sharing supplements because like this is what I was given based on a professional who took my blood and did like an hour-long sit down with me. So I don't want you guys to go and like buy these supplements and them not work for you because they are very expensive. I was spending about $250 a month on supplements and they were meant for me and my needs. So I was taking a zinc blend. I think the zinc is actually quite important. I think that is something when I stopped using the zinc, I did start to lose a little bit of hair. I was taking the hair and scalp supplement. I was taking some other things like omega-3s, vitamin Ds, a hormonal help supplement. I was also taking a probiotic. So these all started working together. The Minoxidil, the iRestore, I think I was using some random serum topically as well. I have no idea if that was working. Oh, I also started microneedling. This was not from any advice from anyone I talked to. I just did my own research online and I will leave a YouTube channel in the description box down below that was very, very helpful. But basically they run meta-analyses to actually look at what actually works and what studies are actually like high quality studies. There are so many studies out there that say something but it's a low quality study. It's on a small size. You know, they're not holding a bunch of variables constant and you want high quality studies to inform yourself on the things that are actually going to work. So for example, rosemary oil, people were saying there's a study that showed it was more effective than minoxidil. That study was with like 20 people and it was a very low quality study. So I love this YouTube channel. I just love the information they're giving to people for free. It's incredible. But they were talking about how some of the best outcomes that they see in the literature is by combining minoxidil with microneedling or with retin A or tretinoin. Those are some of the best outcomes, and that's because a lot of people are non-responders to minoxidil. Minoxidil works when it works, but it doesn't for a lot of people, and that is because people can be non-responders, and microneedling and retin A both help with allowing people to respond to minoxidil. That is where I got that information from, and I started microneedling once a week, and I was doing that very consistently, and I saw a lot of hair growth. I was getting baby hairs. I had a 6-month hair update and I think my hair looked so good in that video. The photos were great. I had baby hairs growing in. I wasn't filling in my hairline anymore. I used to use a hairline spray. So this would have been last year, like spring last year when my hair was doing really well. I will leave both of my videos I've made down below. I feel like I've reiterated a lot of the same information, but yeah, I was really happy with my hair growth outcomes. I was so excited to continue. I was like, you know what, if this is how it is, 6 months later, like I can't even imagine a year later. And I went back to my naturopath and she was like, you know what, everything looks great. She's always saying how we don't want to supplement forever. That's not the plan. We want to get your levels to normal and we want to use our diet to continue maintaining. And so she took me off a lot of the supplements at that point. And I kind of did the thing I did last time where I started being a little bit more lenient with this. I stopped microneedling because microneedling hurt, and I really was just being a little bit loose with everything. Minoxidil, I started applying it every 2 to 3 days because it is a lot of work for me with the cats, and obviously also it makes your hair a little bit kind of dirty feeling. It's not fun to use. Neither is this. Like, it's 25 minutes. Like, that's not nothing. So I just started being a little bit looser with everything. I was also thinking about maybe like trying to ramp down on minoxidil to maybe see if like it was even necessary, because I was like, if my ferritin is the issue and everything's better now, then minoxidil wouldn't even be something that's working for me. So I just was a little too excited that I had good outcomes, and what I should have done is kept everything constant. I should have stopped some of the supplements with my naturopath. I think I should have just held other things constant and should have really tried to dissect what was working for me and what was not, because I was spending so much money and I was excited to not have to spend so much money, if you know what I mean. I was just excited to have outcomes. I was excited to get to a point where it wasn't as much effort anymore. June, my hair started falling out a little bit more in the shower. I didn't want to panic. I didn't want to do anything crazy. It was like, this is the thing, is it was subtle, but it was more. And then it started getting more, and then a little bit more. And then so I started putting some of the supplements back in because I was like, oh my God, what's happening? I need to get back on my supplements. I tried being better with this. I tried being better with minoxidil, but like once I kind of fall off of a habit, it's kind of hard to get back in it, especially when I don't know. I want my hair loss to be better, but when it's just constantly something you always have to be on with, it's hard. Like I'm so bad at being on with all of my habits all the time. Like with taking my supplements twice a day, every single day, with minoxidil every single day, doing this every second day. Like it's hard to always be on, especially when life gets busy. Like I find it so hard to maintain my routines. Anyway, so then that brings us to the fall, and I was having really dramatic hair fall again, almost more than the minoxidil shed. It was getting to a point where I was like, oh my God, like I'm not even starting something that's supposed to cause a shed. Like this is just my hair shedding. And I started using root spray again. I started panicking, made another appointment with my naturopath. I told her what was going on, and we basically like went backwards and brought everything back in. I went back on all of the supplements I was on beforehand, except for the probiotic and the hormone one. I'm just taking maca right now for my hormones. And we kind of also had a discussion about hormonal birth control at this point, because hormonal birth control is actually known to cause hair loss, especially certain ones. And I was on the Mirena IUD, and there is a actual large portion of people who lose their hair while on that birth control, and it's to do with like your hormones and like the androgens and the whole situation. And I was like thinking about it, and I was like, okay, when did my hair loss get really, really bad? And it was like 2 months after I had gotten my IUD in. So I was like, that might be too quick. Like 2 months might be too quick for it to have progressed that much. But October is when I noticed it, and August is when I got my IUD in. So I was like, there is a potential that all of my problems are because of this IUD. I did really think long and hard about removing it. I love my IUD. I was a huge fan of it. I had no other issues on it. I felt completely normal on it. I loved the lighter periods. I loved the flexibility. I love not having to worry. It's the highest percentage of efficacy of birth controls. I just felt very safe on it. I've been on it for like a decade. So I was nervous to get it out, to say the least. But I was like, you know what? I can't in good conscience ignore this. So I was like, you know what? If I remove it and my hair loss stops, at least I know that it was the cause. At least or if I remove it and it continues, then I can put it back in, and at least we cross that one off the list. So I got my IUD taken out in December, and I would say my hair loss was like the worst September, October, November, which is like the exact same as the year before. And it started to curb off and kind of neutralize around December. Right now, it is far better than what it was. I still am losing a decent amount of hair, especially when I'm like brushing it, just playing with it, things like that. Like I do find hairs are just constantly falling out. But in the shower, there's not clumps. It's definitely tapered off. It's not as dramatic right now. That brings me to, do I know what's going on? No. This is the thing, is like you guys wanted an update, but I don't have a huge update. It's not been long enough to confirm for sure or not whether the IUD was the cause. My doctor said about 3 months after IUD removal is when I'll probably be like more baseline, can see what's going on. I might just have this weird cycle of hair that just is a continuous annual cycle where I shed more in the fall and I gain hair back in the spring. It might be the cycle of like I'm better with my habits when I am at home all the time and I don't have vacations and things like that. Like that could be a big part of it. So that brings me to today, my plan moving forward, what I'm hoping to do for my hair loss. So if you watch my annual goals video, one of my big goals for 2025 was to get a diagnosis. I have yet to be diagnosed with any form of hair loss. And I don't want someone to just give me their professional opinion. I want a biopsy. I want you to look at my scalp. I want you to tell me whether my hairs are shrinking or not. Like, is it androgenic alopecia? Is it something else? Is it telogen effluvium? Like, tell me what it is. I just want to know what the cause is because the treatments are very different. I am hoping to do that in the first quarter of this year. I just need to figure out a reputable place to go. I don't want to spend a bunch of money on some gimmicky place. I also don't want to go somewhere and have them try to push PRP on me because I'm not interested. So yeah, that's basically my big goal for this year of what I want to get done to confirm my situation. I am going to continue as I currently am. Everything seems to be moving in the right direction, so I don't obviously want to do anything drastic. So my current protocol is I'm actually using this every day for about 10 to 15 minutes instead. I use it in the morning when I meditate and when I read, and I am just trying to be more consistent with it. I was finding that because it was every second day, I would remember some days and I would think that I did it yesterday when I didn't, and that was causing a lot of issues. So by doing it every day, it's actually just making it a little bit easier for me. And this is actually part of my 75 mid challenge I'm doing right now, is to be more consistent with my hair loss. So I am taking my supplements twice a day. Every single day I've done it just because it's part of the challenge, and if I skip something with the challenge, I technically have to restart. So I've been very diligent with those two. I am very diligent with my minoxidil. There is only one day where I won't put it on that night, and that is when I microneedle. So I'm also back to microneedling once a week. Use minoxidil every day, and then I just don't use it immediately after microneedling because it's a little bit sensitizing because you're causing a bunch of trauma, and I don't want to put this like sort of irritating product on top of that, if that makes sense. I have also been using Nizoral consistently for the last, I'd say probably year, and then I stopped using it around the time when my hair loss started again. So I've been bringing this girl back in. This shampoo is just honestly amazing for just like my dandruff as well. I used to have really bad dandruff and I don't at all anymore. And I love this girl. Squeaky clean hair. She's a good shampoo. I put it on and I leave it on for 1 to 2 minutes, and I alternate between this and this shampoo here. This is the Sun by Me Cica Peptide Anti-Hair Loss Derma Scalp Shampoo. This is from, I got a bunch of Korean beauty online, so this is from Sun by Me, and it had great reviews. I'm using this on one of the days I shampoo, and then this on the other day. So this is like my treatment shampoo. I always shampoo twice. My first shampoo is either I have a giant bottle that I'm trying to get through of the Olaplex shampoo. So I use that. I alternate as well. I'll use this. Usually I pair these two together just because this one isn't as good of a cleaning shampoo as the Nizoral. So I'll use the Pantene Volume and Body first. Abby Young always talks about the shampoo, and it is my ride or die baby. This thing is $5. Best shampoo out there. I'm almost done my first bottle. This is $5 and I think I've had this for like 8 months. I love it. But yeah, I'll pair these two together on one day, and then I will pair my Olaplex and Nizoral on the second day. Always shampoo twice. I will leave both of my treatment shampoos on for at least a minute, sometimes 2 minutes. So that is my shampooing situation. I just use a regular conditioner. I don't love the one I'm using right now, so I'm not going to talk about it. Other treatment wise, I try to remember to use this every day. This is the Nioxin Hair Fall Defense Serum. Abby Young talked about this for hair fall, and I don't know, my hair has been falling out less since I started it, but it could also be all of the other things I'm doing. I don't know for certain, but I honestly love this stuff. It smells great. Everyone complained about the smell, and I was like, what are you talking about? It smells like a delicious shampoo. That is another thing I do. I also, every time I wash my hair, try to put on the Miele rosemary scalp oil at least like an hour before I wash my hair. I don't know. I really don't believe in this that much, but I'm like, it can't hurt. It's not that expensive. This is not breaking my bank or anything like that. And I also think that applying hair oils before I shower just protects my hair while I'm washing it. This is also the oil I use on my lengths and my ends when I wash my hair. Also an Abby Young suggestion. You put this on at least a half hour before you wash your hair, and it just protects your hair while it's being washed, because if you didn't know, your hair is the most sensitive to damage when it's wet. So when you're like scrubbing and stuff like that in the shower, that's when you're actually causing a lot of damage, and those are the oils I use before I wash my hair. I also am using K18 a little bit more frequently. I used to use it once every month. I'm supposed to use it every week, but I can't remember to do that. So maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks I use this. I don't notice a huge difference with this. I'm not gonna lie. Everyone seems to love it, and maybe my hair just isn't damaged enough to notice a big difference. I mean, I don't know. I trust the hair gods. I've never noticed a huge difference with this. It's not like when I use it, my hair day is like way better. And then other hair products I also love. Just gonna mention this while I'm going through everything. This is my ride or die leave-in hair treatment. This is the Pureology Color Fanatic leave-in treatment. This is the only girl I use. She's like everything in one. And then for making my hair look good, because, you know, thinning hair, I am a huge fan of the Oribe thickening mousse products. So this is Oribe Grandiose Hair Plumping Mousse, and I love the mixture of these two. And this is the Oribe Maximista Thickening Spray. These two girls together mixed with my Dyson Airwrap, mixed with my little like heatless rolling things, my hair has never looked better. Even though I'm losing my hair, even though I am insecure about my hair, I have never had more compliments on my hair in my life than I currently do. Random people will come up to me and be like, your hair is amazing. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm losing it. But I think it's just the way that I style it, the way I use products. These two and the Dyson, you can also use the Flex Styler. Honestly, you could just give yourself a blowout. I just think it's important to use some sort of heat and directing your hair away from your root with these products to make sure you're actually getting the volume from them. But like sometimes I literally wash my hair and I'm like, hair loss who? But then I look at my scalp and I'm like, okay, never mind. We are losing hair. It's apparent. So yeah, that's currently where I'm at. I also use a root spray. I didn't today just because I want, wait, did I use it yesterday? I might have root product in, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, so this is the current state of my scalp. It looks worse, far better, depending on the day, depending on how oily my hair is. Sometimes I look at it and I'm like, it's fine. Some days I look at it and I'm like, holy shit. Like my last video, the fitness video, when I was editing that video, I was like, oh my God, I'm balding. So yeah, so some days is better than others, but I do think that everything I'm doing is at the very least holding my hair loss down. Like I'm refusing to submit to this hair loss. I'm refusing to let it take all of my precious hair away. I love my hair. I love long hair. I've always loved long hair and I want to have it for as long as humanly possible. This is what I do. This is all of the pain and discomfort and money I spend on the situation. Yeah, I guess let's just do a last little section here of what I'm willing to do in the future if things got worse and what I'm not willing to do. So let's just say I get my scalp biopsy. Let's say it confirmed what I think it personally is myself. I think I have a little bit of everything. I think I have the low ferritin related hair loss, maybe mixed with a little other stressor hair loss, mixed with androgenic alopecia. I do think I have it. It runs in my family. It's all there on both sides. It would be bizarre for it not to be in my family. Oh, I touched my hair. I can't touch you. It makes a lot of sense. Oh, are you kneading? Oh, he is choking his brother. Oh, it's so sweet, you guys. My heart. I'm just gonna leave them there. That's gonna be the video. So yeah, in my personal opinion, I think I have androgenic alopecia mixed with the low ferritin. My iron is now luckily over 100. I think it was at 114 or something incredible. So I'm off my iron supplements. The actual nutritional deficiencies stuff I think is fine. I do have some elevated white blood cells that says that I have some sort of inflammation going on in my body, and there might be something to do with my thyroid as well, my naturopath mentioned. So we're keeping an eye on that. We're doing a couple things for that, and who knows, maybe I have to take like gluten out of my diet or something. Pray for me. Hopefully fucking not. Jesus Christ, that would be the worst news ever. But yeah, I'm working with her. We're figuring it out. But yeah, my suspicions is I have androgenic alopecia, which means likely the minoxidil is a great thing to do. And I will also have to probably take some sort of androgen blocker, DHT blocker in the future. The hair and scalp supplement I take has saw palmetto in it, which is a natural DHT blocker. I technically am sort of on a minor dose of a DHT blocker right now, but maybe in the future I'll have to take something more aggressive like spironolactone. I think I would try the spironolactone again and at least try to use it for a little bit longer just to see if it would be more beneficial. So that is something I'm willing to do in the future. The issue is I'm kind of running out of like more extreme things to do. There's not really much, but I do have one thing I will absolutely under no circumstances be doing, and that is PRP, which is a super common treatment for hair loss that everyone seems to get. And I just feel bad for everyone because they're being, you know, taken advantage of by the medical system. Unfortunately, there are tons and tons and tons of studies that show that PRP works, and high quality studies, Harvard studies. And this is something I learned from that YouTube channel. I think it's called Perfect Hair Health is the YouTube channel. They did a whole video on this, but you're gonna find study after study after study that shows that PRP works. And that is why dermatologists do it. That's why all of these hair clinics are doing it. But we don't know the mechanism in which it works. We don't know for sure that the PRP, which is your platelet rich plasma, which is taken from your blood and put into a centrifuge. And that is where the expensive portion of PRP comes from, is from actually doing that whole process process of removing the platelets from your own blood to put it back into your scalp. And we don't even know if that's the mechanism that is doing the work. It could also be that the person injecting it is causing trauma to the scalp in the same way that microneedling is done at home. When you compare microneedling outcomes with a $10 little roller device to the PRP, they're very similar. They're almost identical. From that video, I trust that YouTube channel with my life. He does meta-analyses. He does the exact same thing David does for work. So I trust with all of my heart in high quality research. Yeah, I would never, ever do PRP because it's so expensive. It's like $2,500. If I had infinite money, then of course, why not? Let's give it a go. But I will stay at home with my little rolling device and I will do that instead. Just make sure you're cleaning your roller device. I like take the whole roller and put it in a little container of alcohol every time I use it just to fully clean it. And I also have the roller, I think it's from HairGuard is where I got it from. It's like a specific needle length and size for the scalp. It hurts like a bitch. I bleed. There's like little pinpoint bleeding every single time I do it, but it gets better. I've noticed that I don't find it as irritating as I used to. It used to be like unbearable to me, and now it's bearable. I can tolerate it. And oh, you guys are so cute. Okay, that is everything, I think. I feel like I've been yibber-yabbering for so long and this is gonna be a nightmare to edit, but that is my hair update. So let me know if you guys have any comments or if there's anything I didn't cover. I wish I had a little bit more updates or, you know, good outcomes or some miracle solution, but that is not the case. I think the one thing I can be grateful for is that I don't think I'm worse off now than I was when I initially started. I think I am at least still a little bit better than then. And that is progress regardless of the roller coaster that I've been on. We're still making moves in the right direction, and I do think my hair is better off right now than it was at the beginning. That is an outcome that I can be grateful for, I guess. If you're losing your hair right now, I will say just have realistic outcomes in mind. You might have a drastic change and you might have my situation where it's just marginally better. But yeah, that is everything. Thank you guys so much for listening. I know this was a long one. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.